Join me as scrapwood art without letting any painting mistakes ruin my masterpiece. Mini scrapwood art is all about experimentation and creativity, and sometimes those happy little accidents can turn into something truly amazing. Making mistakes while painting can be really frustrating, especially when you put so much time and effort into your project. You might feel like you've ruined your entire piece, or that you've wasted all the materials you used. Many artists get discouraged when their paint doesn't turn out as expected, and they might even consider starting over from scratch. Fear of failure is a common obstacle that can hold you back from exploring your creativity and taking risks. Painting mistakes can be heartbreaking, especially if you're working on a piece that's really important to you. You might feel like you've let yourself down, or that you're not good enough to create something beautiful. The fear of making mistakes can be so overwhelming that it prevents you from even trying. Mistakes can happen to anyone, even experienced artists, and they're often a natural part of the creative process. The key is to learn from them and use them as an opportunity to grow and improve. Whether it's a misplaced brush stroke or a miscalculated color, every mistake is a chance to try something new and exciting. When you're working with paint, mistakes can happen in all sorts of ways. Maybe you spill some paint on your work surface, or maybe you mix a color that doesn't quite turn out as expected. The good news is that many of these mistakes can be easily fixed, or even incorporated into your design. You can use a paint spill as a unique texture, or turn a mistake into a happy little accident that adds character to your piece. Different types of paint can be more or less forgiving when it comes to mistakes. For example, watercolor paint is notoriously tricky to work with, because it's so easy to make a mistake that can't be fixed. On the other hand, acrylic paint is much more forgiving, because it dries quickly and can be easily covered up if something goes wrong. One of the most important things to remember when working with paint is that mistakes are inevitable, and they're often a natural part of the creative process. Instead of getting discouraged when something goes wrong, try to see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. You can use mistakes to try out new techniques, or to add unique textures and effects to your work. I remember one time when I was working on a piece and I made a mistake that I thought was going to ruin the whole thing. I had spent hours painting this intricate design, and then I accidentally knocked over a jar of paint and spilled it all over my work. At first, I was devastated. I thought I was going to have to start all over again. But then I took a step back and looked at the spill, and I realized that it could actually be kind of cool. So I decided to roll with it, and I started incorporating the spill into my design. I used the textured, uneven surface of the paint to create a unique effect, and I even added some extra details to make it look like it was intentional. It ended up being one of my favorite pieces, and it's a great example of how a mistake can sometimes turn into something beautiful. The mistake actually ended up being a happy accident that added a lot of character to the piece. It was a great reminder that even when things don't go as planned, they can still turn out okay. In fact, sometimes they can even turn out better than you expected. Looking back on that experience, I realized that it was a really valuable learning opportunity. It taught me to be more flexible and adaptable when I'm working on a piece, and to not be too hard on myself when things don't go as planned. It also reminded me that mistakes are a natural part of the creative process, and that they can often lead to unexpected and exciting results. In the end, the key to creating awesome mini scrapwood art is to not be afraid of making mistakes. Remember that mistakes are an opportunity to learn and grow, and that they can often lead to unique and beautiful results. Don't be discouraged if things don't go as planned. Instead, try to see the potential in every mistake, and use it to create something truly special. And trust me, that's no small feat. Sketching on the canvas is the moment where everything begins to click. With each line I draw, I can see the potential of this little canvas starting to unfold. It's surprising how a few little strokes can breathe life into it, transforming it from a plain piece of wood to something more vibrant. Keeping in mind the scale while adding details is essential. Each feature needs to be bold enough to see but delicate enough to capture the intricacies. The real magic happens when the artwork starts to come together. Watching it evolve from something so simple to a colorful masterpiece is incredibly rewarding. Each layer of paint adds depth, and those tiny details become the heartbeat of the artwork. The vibrancy of the colors makes everything pop, and suddenly, it feels like the canvas is alive. It's fascinating how such a small space can hold so much creativity when approached with passion. Reflecting on this journey, the takeaway is that creativity knows no boundaries, not even the size of your canvas. Whether big or small, it's all about letting your imagination run wild and expressing yourself. Working on this tiny piece challenged me to step out of my comfort zone a bit, and I loved every moment of it. I'd love to hear about your favorite tiny art experiences in the comments below. Did you ever create something on a small scale? Also, don't forget to check out my other art